Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show. Today we are going to be painting boxes because we're changing the channel. We're no longer a miniature channel. We're just a regular painting channel. It's like Bob Ross, except instead of like an epic man with an afro, it's one guy with a stupid goatee and an autistic kid.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we're gonna start painting some stuff. I've already,
Most of these are already done.
they're not even, well, some of them are. But we're gonna show off the last two boxes from the Dungeons and Lasers Encounters Kickstarter. That being the, what do they call it? The Super Stretch Goals Box 1 and 2. Obviously, you can see the big box here, and then the other box here. They had a total of, I think, 12 or 13, depending on how you count it, pieces, and I'll get into why the number is off. But
Do I reveal?
Do your reveal first. Scared the crap out of the dog.
Good. He deserves it. You stole our food.
Yeah,
Thief.
the dog was a bad boy today. But right off the bat, why don't you hold up your new pet that's going to replace Chewy?
Yeah.
Give him a nice big hug.
Much better than
Good
Chewy.
Terrasque. Good Terrasque.
Chewy?
Now show him off to the camera. This is the biggest model I have ever put together. The biggest model Archon Studios has ever made.
I think the biggest model I've ever seen.
While it's not the biggest Terrasque miniature out there, there's a bigger one by that other company, but it costs 10 times more than this one, almost literally, and it's probably not as fun to put together because you don't get to put it together, and this thing is heavy.
Yeah.
And
I think it was pretty cool putting together. I'd give it like a 8.36879 out of 10.
okay. And why wasn't it a perfect 10 then?
Well, because nothing's perfect.
No, okay, so it's pretty far off from a 10 though. I mean, that's,
Not really. That's not far off from a 10. Far off
So-
from a 10 would be like a 6.328. That's
Okay.
my definition of far off from a 10.
He's going to be using some Vallejo paints to paint this up tonight. It's going to take a long time to get this to really, really look good. And, so don't expect it to be, it might not even be done by the end of April because there's a lot of things that need to be done with this. But he's going to,
start with the black.
like I said, he's going to be using Vallejos. And while he does that, I'm going to show off the pieces from the other box and some of the pieces that were in that box. I forget what was in that box. I know the Giantess. I'm pretty sure that the Giantess was in it. Hold on, let me double check and just get the main box. Yeah, okay, I know it was in it. Okay, in that same box, you got this Giantess, and she had an optional mask, and then this mask here on her side that she could have been wearing, yeah, I know, right? And then she had these other two on the side that clearly she couldn't wear because of the way they're sculpted. So I just said, screw it, and I'm just going to attach them all three to her waist. Maybe they're, some sort of magical masks that gives her powers or something like that. I don't know. This was a pretty nice model. I actually like it better than the WizKids Giantess model.
WizKids?
Yeah,
Never heard of them.
Yeah, right. The one that I did last year was nice, but it was a little dinkier. The facial details were a lot less pronounced, and to be honest, the pose was not as interesting. I really like this staff, and of course, I got to assemble it, and I've been saying all week how much I really love to assemble model kits, sometimes even more than painting. And this box that the little guy is working on also came with this piece that's actually touted as being two separate pieces. The Stagecoach, which is not really a stagecoach, but whatever. And the horse are supposed to be technically separate, but believe it or not, the horse does not stand up on its own. So
Even if you give him a base?
Well, if I gave it a base, then I'd have to put both on a base, and that defeats the purpose. So I just assembled it as one separate piece, and it's a nice,
Piece?
gypsy sort of wagon with all kinds of
Gypsy.
goods and supplies all stacked on it. But the one thing it's really missing is a driver, because the horse clearly looks like it's in motion. It's moving. It's not just got that one hoof up in the air for no reason. It's not a Tennessee walking horse, and but if they put the rider on there, that would have been more detail, more work. You would have had to have like a coach and buggy whip, or reins, and all that would have made more issues. But it's a fantastic model with tons and tons of detail. The lantern, the smokestack here, the massive amount of luggage on the back end of it, the doors to get in, the windows, and even the little sign that says like honey ale. That's maybe an actual brand of alcohol. I don't know. I don't drink. But all in all, it's a really nice piece, and it was actually the most difficult piece to put together, except for the next piece I'm going to show off. And I saved it to last because I always save the hardest ones for last. But I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to painting it. But I've been busy painting the other stuff. The most complicated model to put together was actually this Enchanted Tree, which I already started working on quite a bit. I'm going to do a lot more painting to it, but I really wanted to. Something about it just spoke to me, so I started painting it. And I'm nowhere near done, but it's a lot of fun. It's got some nice detail with the woman, embedded in the tree, or maybe it's a dryad or something like that. You could use it for a lot of different things. And I'm going to, throw some various different kind of object source lighting effects on it. I'm going to try that. And if that fails, I'll just hit it up with a whole bunch of glow-in-the-dark paint. And speaking of trees, this one was just awesome. Not only was it easier than that one, I could actually put this one together without the instructions because it was only like 4 pieces. And believe it or not, even the top just went on very easily. It was pretty obvious where it went. Once you lined up this one piece right here, it all just fell into place. And of course, the cool thing about it is it's hollow, which, you know what that means, folks. We're going to light this bad boy up along with a couple other pieces from this.
I thought we could put a moth inside it.
And I'll just take I'm going to have to find some blue tea lights because I've only got the color changing, the green and the clear. And this one definitely needs a blue light under it to really light it up. But I love this piece. And that tree and this tree and all the other trees are actually available in a box of trees if you need them. You can get them with the next Kickstarter, or maybe later on down the road they'll be in the online store, but I'm glad I got them. And, you guys know that we have one extra box of all this stuff to give away next time we hit one of our big milestones, which is a bit, down the road. Then the Dwarven mine entrance, I guess, and because, it's the Dwarven mine entrance, and we got a whole bunch of the Dwarven mine sets, I painted with the same technique of giving it a base coat of a true blue, I think it was, which is actually a craft paint. And for the most part, I used a lot of craft paints on this, the grays and the whites. No, actually, the white and the ivory were Vallejo. But it's a nice little piece. It'll go great. I'll put it in with the Dwarven mine pieces because you'll never really use it otherwise. But it's pretty simple. Had I thought about it, I could have maybe wired it up with a couple of more tea lights and put flames in the chalices here, or the braziers, I should say, and maybe even lit up the eyes. But yeah, that's a lot of work, and to be honest, it would make it difficult to store and make sure the wiring didn't come loose and things like that. And I'm only going to use it like a few times in my gaming. Then these pieces, they're called Highland Huts. Very nice. I'm certain that they got the idea for these from Black Magic Craft because he did a couple of really simple builds on these. But I really liked them. Again, with a couple more pieces, you've got a small village set up for your game. I don't like the windows because they're identical with this little curtain or spider web in the exact same, you know, part of the window on each one on both sides. But it made it probably easier to sculpt and to manufacture. But it's a nice little piece. It's pretty solid now that it's glued together, and it will get a lot more use than most of the other pieces because you can just drop these down anywhere and for all kinds of purposes. Then we'll go on to the tower. This is possibly one of my favorite pieces, and I wish I could get like 3 more of these just because you need 4 of these. It's not big enough for the full-fledged wizard tower. It's just a little watchtower, as you can see, with a miniature for scale. But it did come with, because of the molding process and the sprues, it came with 3 extra doors that I can find other purposes for, and it's built like the silo that I did a couple of months back, where it's actually 4 separate pieces that you have to glue together. You can kind of see the glue connections where the 4 separate wedges of this tower come together. But I hopefully I hid that. But I'm calling this one done. I just need to give it the brass fittings on the door. I just give them a wash of soft tone, and I'm calling this one done. But I really like it. It's nice and solid. If you drop it, it's probably not going to break apart because of the model glue melting the pieces together. Then the next building is this little, I don't know what, it doesn't make any sense. Nobody could live there and be comfortable. The openness of it, you'd literally have to have some sort of, heavy duty curtains and to keep the wind and the bugs and stuff out. It's a goofy little swamp dwelling because of the risers and stuff, and I just not a big fan of it. It looks cool from a distance. The roof textures and the wood textures and all that is great, but it just really doesn't make any sense. Sure, a couple of goblins could fall asleep in there, but it's not very homey. But this one, this mushroom hut, this is just over the top crazy. You could fit a family of 4 goblins in here, no problem. They'd be happy as a pig and what. And it's just completely just goofy. But it makes more sense. There's room for people to live in, and I just love it. It's just ridiculous. It's got a little skull hanging out there. It's got this nice big old banner, and the wood fittings and the planks around it make total sense. And hopefully you guys will be able to get one of these, separately, or maybe they'll put, a couple of pieces together so you can get one of these. Otherwise, you got to get the big 10 piece box. I'm not sure how you're going to pull that off. And not last, but definitely least, is the stereotypical prisoner cage, which they really, really should have put a ring at the top so you could suspend it from something. Otherwise, it just doesn't, have the same emphasis, the same oomph, I should say, that it would, hanging from a tree. What? How do they get in it?
How would you hang it?
I don't know. You always see these hanging from something. It's sort of
but how would you, ignoring the question of how do you put someone in it, because that's...
Yeah, because there is literally no doorway to get in here, which is, I don't know how they missed that. I know why they did it the way they did it, because it's also 4 separate pieces. You glue them together and you're done. 4 wedges of the same piece, but it needs a door. They could have made a separate door piece that you just glue onto the outside, and it would have given the illusion of a door. But clearly you can fit a prisoner in there, and maybe I should have done something like that, but
sacrificed a miniature to it.
Or a skeleton at least, that would have looked cool, but I didn't think about it until literally just now. But it'll get some use. It'll definitely get more use than this, which is sad because this is a pretty big piece, and it's just not going to get that much use. But I don't have one, so there's that. And finally, the last piece in the 10-piece set is Thos. Thos, yeah, Thos. What a weird name. But, maybe it comes from mythology or something like that. This is more or less a kind of a babe, not a baby, but a young
We all know what happened last time they made a baby.
Right. It's a young red dragon, and it's a nice piece. It's a very nice sculpt, very interesting pose, very easy to put together. Again, I didn't need the instructions to put this one together.
Well, not necessarily a question, more of a request. Black paint.
Black. More black?
Yes.
This one's empty?
Pretty much.
Okay. Let me go over here and get some. Sorry, folks.
But yeah, this thing, I was expecting to do half of it, but I've expected a lot of things. So, then I expected to just do the torso. Again, same thing applies. This thing is so large. It is difficult.
Yeah, you know what? I wanted
fathom.
to do something just to give everybody an idea of how big it is.
Hold on, let me
Yeah.
finish painting this. Because what I'm doing is I'm kind of just creating an outline.
Okay.
For where I want the black to be. Like which rocks on the torso, not even just the torso, the upper torso, are going... Because my idea is for it to be gray, like stone colored. Again, this is
Instead
a
of
problem,
the reds and brown
Browns.
color. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been a neat exercise for him to paint it as close to the box as possible.
That's
but
cringe though.
I've done it. I did
Well,
it with
I
all
don't
the
like doing
Shadows
it.
of Brimstone pieces. I try to do that, one, because they give you painting instructions, and I like to,
I've just never liked the idea of copying what someone else does. Unless it's for writing, then I do it all the time.
Okay. Here, don't leave me hanging here. Just take a
Fine.
second. Let's see how long this guy is. So, from the horn, we're looking at. Okay, this is in centimeters. I wanted to do this. This is going to be about what?
14-ish centimeters.
About 15 centimeters, 15 inches long. Hold on, let's do the height. It's about 8 inches tall. So, over a foot by almost a foot. And that's pretty massive.
So I'll do your most later. Let's finish this one.
So, those of you who are watching, why don't you, obviously the Terrasque steals the show. But out of the other 12 miniatures,
I like how I stopped painting for a long time, and then I paint some ants, and then the biggest miniature that I've ever seen.
yeah, and it is pretty big. Hopefully, with the new Dungeons and Lasers Kickstarter that breaks April 4th, there will be a sky ship in it, because one of the factions are some sort of sky pirates, and we were talking about it in the chat with the last live stream from Archon Studios. It's probably going to be one of those stretch goal kind of things that if they reach a certain amount, then it'll be one of the super stretch goals that one per backer kind of thing, and you guys know how to get around that. If you're willing to pay the money, you just
Hey, don't give. Hey, we need to do that.
yeah, well, definitely, especially if it's a nice model, then yeah, I'll definitely try to grab as many as possible. I know the Terrasque is going to be available for €69 separately, not with the other, with the Giant and the Stagecoach, which is kind of a bummer. They should have just kept it, the same box with the Giant and the Stagecoach, but they decided, maybe because of packaging or something, to just sell it individually. And the other super stretch goals and some of the other sets from this kit, the Encounters Kickstarter are going to be available separately, some of the different things. But personally, I like the way they did it this time. And we'll see what will be available. And, with a new Kickstarter, you can also buy some of these things probably the same way. Maybe in the same boxes if they have extras left over that'll be available for rapid delivery. So you won't have to wait to get your own Terrasque if you if you
What?
I don't know.
Oh. I say I don't have a car.
You'll be able to get it with rapid delivery. You won't have to wait until next year to get the Terrasque. You'll probably be able to get it in a couple, 4 or 5 months. And
I'm gonna finish this video with first I need a bigger brush, like way bigger brush.
Like this.
That's not yes.
Well, you'll need some paint on that palette. Personally, I'm looking forward to some aspects of the Kickstarter, but there's some that I absolutely.
The one thing I don't. One thing I don't necessarily like about modern Dungeons and Lasers is I feel like they don't do as much terrain as they used to. Not terrain. What's it called? Walls.
Oh, the walls. Yeah, the walls and the floors and the doorways were what brought us into this Kickstarter. The ability to build dungeons, and maybe they feel like they've mastered that. They've come up with all the rooms,
which is fair. Oh, which is fair. That's probably true, but I mean, you can come up with
I've already got 5 ideas that they could easily make room sets, or like I forget what they call them, the like the basic starter set,
corset.
Yeah, the corset. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. And if you guys want to talk, I'll give you my ideas. Otherwise, I'm gonna save them for myself. Yeah, right. There's still a lot more room left with the old
format.
Yeah, I really hope they don't give up on that.
I also hope they don't give up on sci-fi.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all know how much we like sci-fi.
Yeah, we love the fantasy stuff, but the sci-fi stuff.
This is good.
Yeah. I'm not even going to say one's going to get more use than the other.
I mean, I like sci-fi. I don't think I've ever done anything fantasy.
Yeah.
Ever. But
with his own stories, he's mostly a sci-fi writer.
Entirely sci-fi.
And I've got. I've put so much time in playing fantasy that I'm getting kind of burnt out. But I'm still in a bunch of fantasy games, and I'll continue. But you offer a good sci-fi game, I'm definitely down for it. And there's so much more room, especially if you look at some of the other Kickstarters like the Traveler, Scout Ship, and the Beowulf 200-ton free trader, and all the things that came with that. There's plenty of room for.
I want to use the rest of this paint.
Okay, and then we're going to call it a night. You can finish off camera. It's getting late. It's not a school night because he's got the rest of the week off, or the whole week off for spring break. But we really wanted to show this stuff off because this is some of the coolest stuff we've gotten that wasn't core sets or rooms. All the scattered terrain that have come before this Kickstarter, it was nice little bits, but a lot of it, admittedly, you could have found elsewhere. It's nice that the stretch goals, are freebies that you get, and technically all of this stuff was free. This was the stuff that you got if you backed the Kickstarter and made regular purchases, which we did with the Creatures set and the Land of the Giants. I wasn't a fan of the Swamp set or the Elven Forest because they had so many pieces that I could just make myself or already had. And I don't need more trees.
But we all like bugs.
Yeah, so
I like bugs.
The creature set was great. He's got a lot of bugs to paint.
I've already painted the ants, as previously mentioned. I won't show them yet, but
they're not done. But
yeah, exactly, they're not done.
You've got spiders and giant wasps and giant centipedes to paint.
Yeah. Dragonflies would have been better though. Dragonflies are.
You think so?
Dragonflies are the second best bug.
I don't know. Giant wasps are scary though. I don't see.
And dragonflies are scary too.
I don't see dragonflies really doing a whole lot of damage. If you're done painting, for now, put the brush in the water if you want to paint more afterwards.
I'll just say that if dragonflies were as big as they used to be, we wouldn't be letting our cats outside.
That's true. That's true. But there you have it, folks. Give the big guy a hug. Show off to the camera. Let's give him a nice spin. Because this thing, I mean, literally, you could hurt somebody with this. Once the glue, once the glue is melted, everything together. I think this would survive a fall better than the next level miniatures that are coming this week. Those things are, from what I hear, as Jackie would say, dog water and the most fragile miniatures ever made. But we will see, because we're going to be reviewing them next week when they show up. But this thing is solid and it's just gorgeous. It's gonna, I might have to get one for myself just to, get the chance to paint it. But, of course I'm going to let the little guy, have the joy of painting this thing. Yeah, this is just one of the coolest miniatures we've ever picked up. It probably is the coolest, huh? Yeah. Or do you think it's better than the Xenos? That's like the only thing that compares, huh?
Yeah, and I feel like I still haven't nailed the Xenos down yet. I don't know why. I feel like I need a third try.
You need a third try? Well, they're still available.
Yeah.
What color would you do them next?
I really want to do the bee thing, or the wasp thing.
Well, you can always go back at it and see what you can do to fix it up if you're not happy with it.
It's not that bad.
When I did the two Xeno Dragons that I painted, I was 100% satisfied with them.
And I never was.
Yeah, he had some issues with getting the right color scheme, but you could always.
I like that color scheme. I just feel like
you could also do the unthinkable, which is to just re-primer the whole damn thing.
I'd rather jump off of a toy bridge.
Okay. Well, there you have it, folks. Hope you enjoyed the Terrasque and all of his friends and all the things that come with it from this.
Not this guy. We hate him.
Yeah, we're still mad at our dog. But
all that, such good food.
Yeah, well. So, anything else you want to add before we hit the road?
No.
Have a great week, folks. For those of you on spring break, enjoy the heck out of it. If you got something to paint, go out there, get stuck in. There's no time like the present, and what a present this would make, huh?
That's clever.
So, good night, everybody.
God bless. Oh, yeah.